What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 36 of the Before the Score podcast. I'm Steve Samra. Pablo's in the outfield. He's happy about the Yankees win yesterday. And if you're listening to it on Wednesday, it might be two in a row. Pablo, will the Yankees get number 2 today from the Rays?
Well, Steve, number one, I want to welcome everybody to the Before the Score podcast. Last week, I was very nervous, very excited about the wild card series, and I just wanted to know whether or not the Yankees bats were going to bring it. Now, I had no doubt about Garrett Cole. I had no doubt about Masahiro Tanaka because he is that type of pitcher in the postseason. Now, the game didn't really go as expected. Things happened. It was a crazy game. The Yankees won, so that's all I care about. But I do think that they do win today. The Yankee bats are just too hot. They're too on fire. Everybody, 1 through 9, they're all hitting. Whatever Aaron Boone does, he plays Brett Gardner instead of Clint Frazier. He plays Higashioka instead of Sanchez. He plays Sanchez instead of Higgy, vice versa. Anybody who is in that lineup is hitting right now. Everything Aaron Boone is doing for that lineup, at least, he's hitting a home run. And right now for the Yankees, if they are going to continue on this pace, which is kind of absurd to say, no team in the majors is stopping them. So as long as they're hot, I'm riding them. That's it. This is the team to beat. The New York Yankees are the team to beat.
Well, you look at the Yankees lineup, and they've always had this stacked lineup. They just never put it together. I mean, even this year, they never really had their full-strength lineup with Voit, LeMahieu, Torres, Stanton, Judge, all in the lineup at the same time. And when they were in the lineup, they weren't really producing to what everyone expected. And it took them to get to the playoffs and facing some, better competition that they finally started hitting. This kind of 10-run-a-game lineup is what their ceiling is. So they're playing as well as they probably ever will right now. So the pitching has looked good enough. The hitting has been phenomenal. It's hard to keep up this 10 runs a game pace that they're on right now. So once they get into these lower scoring, grinded out games, we'll really see what the Yankees are made of. I'm not writing them as the team to beat right now just because this playoffs is so stacked and they're only one game into this ALDS. I don't think they're head and shoulders above the Rays. The Rays are down 1-0 in the series, and they can easily, if they win tonight, they're right back in it. And they're a team that can easily just brush off one loss, and they have the pitching staff to kind of cool those Yankee bats down.
Now, the Rays talked a lot about how much they hate the Yankees, how they're just another roadblock for them. That's what Luke Voit said about the Rays. And I want to know, Pablo, what do the Rays need to do to get even with the Yankees tonight?
Well, number one, the only way you get even with the Yankees is by beating them. That is the only way. I mean, you don't get even by hitting a home run and showing off and celebrating. You don't get even at them by throwing at somebody's head or stealing second base, which we'll get into that in just a few minutes. The only way you get back at the New York Yankees is by beating them, not only beating them tonight, but beating them and winning the series. That is the only way that the Rays can get back at the New York Yankees.
Yeah, the Rays, they need this win. They need to win tonight because if you fall in a 2-0 hole, we know how tough it is to come back from down 0-2 in the ALDS, NLDS, and the division series in the MLB. It's borderline impossible, and not a lot of teams end up doing it. And the Tampa Bay Rays, especially to a team like the Yankees, that's a team you do not want to fall down 0-2 to because you know that their bats, you can't keep their bats quiet for that long. 3 games, that's way too long to have the Yankees bats go quiet. Giancarlo Stanton, some may say he earned his pinstripes yesterday. DJ LeMahieu, he's been a machine. Aaron Judge has just been a playoff monster. I really don't know if the Rays have what it takes to take down the Yankees this series.
Well, I'll tell you something, Steve. Last week, Garrett Cole, your ace, the guy you paid $324 million over 9 years for, he really showed out. He proved to you why he's one of the greatest pitchers on the planet. He proved to you that he is made to be put in this type of situation in the playoffs. Now, last night, he did not have his A-plus stuff, but he battled. He fought through it. You had some great defensive plays, with the likes of Gio Urshela, who has been absolutely phenomenal. Where would the Yankees be in the playoffs, let alone where would they be throughout the season if this guy weren't producing the way he was, at the plate, defensively? I mean, in the clubhouse, this guy is just awesome. He's a joy to be around. His smile is just it's so contagious. This guy he's just one of the best moves that Brian Cashman has ever done. Now, I think that, and I know we're gonna talk about this, right? And you were talking about the Tampa Bay Rays and the Yankees. They've had beef. They've had beef this whole year, dating back to 2 years ago. Where CC drilled this guy, and I know you guys remember that. Anyway, so a lot of people, especially Pedro Martinez, on the postgame show yesterday on TBS, were saying that Gleyber Torres should not have been stealing in the ninth inning there, up by so many runs. Now, I personally, look, it's the playoffs. I don't care if it's 5 runs, 6 runs, 7 runs. You are stealing there because it's not that the games are never close in the playoffs. You always want to score more runs. So the fact that this is a rookie making his major league debut in the postseason, he's not expecting you to steal a base. And you also just threw up and in right after Stanton hit the grand slam. These are the little things you do to get back at a team like the Rays. So stealing, that's not, I really can't do much.
I have no problem with Gleyber trying to steal that base, especially when it's the playoffs. You need to get as many runs as possible because you never know when you have Chapman in the ninth inning if anything can go wrong. And in the playoffs, anything can go wrong at any time, and you never want to be the team that doesn't exercise all of their opportunities in the playoffs. You have a chance to score a run, score the run. I don't care if you're up 10, if you're up 20, you score the run because you never know what happens in that bottom of the ninth inning.
It's playoff baseball. There's no such thing as running up the score in playoff baseball. Every run is crucial. Don't let them get a 6-7 run lead if you don't want them scoring or stealing in this game that doesn't matter anymore. Don't let it get to that point. Just, the teams have bad blood. They're going to take every base they can. They want to beat you by as many runs as they can, kind of assert their dominance. I have no issue with that at all.
Yeah, rub a little dirt in the wounds. The Rays and the Yankees, they don't like each other. So I'm sure the Yankees weren't crying any crocodile tears for the Rays right there. Let's talk about the other side of the AL with the Astros and the Athletics. The Astros currently leading 5-2. They already won game 1. This is a team that a lot of people want to see lose. I know Pablo wants to see them lose. They were under 500. They snuck into the playoffs. They won their series against the Twins, who never win in the playoffs. Are the Astros for real this postseason?
Well, here's the thing, right? I do not want the Astros to have any type of success. And, as far as if it were the regular season, this team would not have even made the playoffs. They finished under 500. Guys like Altuve, guys like Bregman, Springer. I mean, they're underperforming, all of them, especially Altuve. He's had a horrible year. Now, I would love to see these guys suffer. In the regular season, I would hope they go 0-162. They deserve everything that is coming to them. But look, they're playing. Right now, there's no fans. There's nobody to really put the pressure on them in terms of, booing them or anything like that. This team, they know that nobody likes them. They know that they're in the playoffs. They have something to prove. And you know what? As a Yankee fan, I'm rooting for them in this series. I want them to beat the Oakland Athletics because, as a Yankee fan, I would like to destroy this team in the ALCS. I would like to get my revenge on a team that not only beat us last year, but beat us in 2017 when they were, headlining that team with the whole cheating scandal. I want the Yankees to take them out. I want the Yankees to put a nail in their coffin because you know what? After this season, you're going to have guys like George Springer leave. You're going to have players like Carlos Correa. His future is sort of in doubt. You have Justin Verlander, who will be coming back from Tommy John surgery. He's getting older. They don't have Garrett Cole anymore. This is the time where you could officially eliminate them and say that you did it. And I am just super excited at the possibility of a Yankees-Astros ALCS reunion.
Now, don't get me wrong. I get why everybody hates the Astros. It's valid. I don't like them either. They deserve all the hate that they've gotten up to this point. But, I mean, from their perspective, they're kind of embracing this chip on their shoulder, which they don't deserve a chip on the shoulder because they gave themselves the chip on the shoulder. But after the fact, when it's all said and done, they're embracing this kind of villain mentality and trying to, when they know that everyone's rooting against them, and they're kind of embracing that, and they're playing better than they did in the regular season. This roster, even after they lost Garrett Cole and some key guys, it's not a bad roster. This is a roster that can make a deep run. Their bats are finally waking up. So you see guys like Bregman and Springer and Brantley and these guys hitting in the playoffs. If I'm a Yankees fan, I'd rather face the A's. I know you want this revenge on the Astros and kind of put the nail in the coffin on their run of success. But I mean, at the end of the day, you want to root for the matchup that you think the Yankees is most favorable with. So I think if I'm a Yankees fan, I don't really care about all that. I just want to see them face the A's and kind of beat up on that sorry pitching staff that they have. If I'm the Yankees and I can get Mike Fiers on Game 3 or something, my eyes just light up. Doesn't matter what the story is behind it. Just try to win your series. Try to get there first, and then take the best matchup possible.
Hey, Steve, I'm going to interrupt this real quick. Number one, if you're the Yankees, obviously it doesn't matter who you play, whether it's the Astros or the Oakland A's. The Yankees have already beaten a team in the Cleveland Indians who had, probably the best pitching in the entire American League. They destroyed them. They absolutely decapitated the best pitcher in the American League. They killed him, Shane Bieber. They're facing the Tampa Bay Rays. If we can get past the Tampa Bay Rays, a team that is so good, the best team in the American League, there is no doubt that the Yankees can take care of any American League team that stands in their way. Doesn't matter who you are, but if you are the Houston Astros, I mean, as a Yankee, you have sort of an objective, a goal to sort of take this team out. I think it's the Yankees' time. And, this whole year I've been down on the New York Yankees, and I'm like, oh, man, they're this, they can hit, but they can't pitch. Oh, they only have one pitcher. Their bullpen stinks. Yes, their bullpen certainly does stink, but everything else is clicking right now. This is a team that I really do think, in my heart of hearts, they want to see the Astros.
Pablo, this isn't Hollywood. We don't know. Of course, it would be a great story for the Yankees to get their revenge on the Astros in the ALCS, where it all ended last year for the Yankees and where 3 years ago, everything all went down with the Astros. But like I just said, it's not Hollywood. It's not going to be a perfect story. The Astros, they are no slouch team. They are kind of lucky to be here in the 60-game season. But let's remember what Carlos Correa just said yesterday. Around this time of the year, usually, is when you start finding your groove and where guys start getting into their really season form. And they really didn't have that. And now Correa, Springer, Bregman, Altuve, these guys are starting to round into their form, and they're starting to hit a lot better. And this is a dangerous lineup. I don't care if they have the buzzers or the trash cans or not. It's still a good team. These are talented players. And I would be afraid of this lineup seeing them in the ALCS, if I'm being honest. I would say, a piece of advice is be careful what you wish for in the ALCS if you really want the Astros. It'd be a great story, but it could also be a great story for the Astros. I know that Andrew said they put the chip on their shoulder themselves, and they don't deserve the chip on their shoulder, but guess what? The chip on the shoulder is there, and it's not going anywhere. And the Astros, I think, if they win the World Series this year, they somehow pull this out, Pablo, you got to tell me, will they have earned your respect for winning it the clean way?
Number one, they will never earn my respect, only because I know what they did. And regardless of the fact that they won, whatever, man. You know what? They had a hot postseason, but they didn't even earn the right to be in the playoffs. You get what I'm saying? This team was so lackluster. They were so average. They were so below average that they don't deserve any of this. And the fact that Carlos Correa can go out there and say, hey, you know what? We have a lot to prove. Like, we're the bad guys for calling, these guys a bunch of cheaters. These guys don't deserve anything. They don't deserve to be wearing the jerseys that they are right now. They're all a disgrace to the game. So I don't care. I don't care what, be sorry what you wish for. This is what I'm wishing for. And you know what? If they beat the Yankees, I'll come back and you know what? I don't know what I'll do. But I'll come on here and I'll have something to say, and I'll probably still bury the Astros because I have zero respect for them.
No, we gotta come up with a challenge right now. If the Astros beat the Yankees, you gotta do something.
Okay.
We'll get back on this by next week's show. The Astros may have already advanced. The Yankees may have already advanced. We'll have a before the score bet in place for Pablo and the Houston Astros. Now I'm almost wishing for this to happen. Let's move on to the NL side of the playoffs, because that's getting a little interesting right now. Everybody knows the Dodgers are the best team in the NL, and that was both of your guys' World Series picks. So give me something here. Which of these three teams, the Padres, the Marlins, the Braves, which of them can you see coming out of the NL, beating the Dodgers, getting to the World Series?
Well, let me just start that. if the Dodgers get past the Padres, the Braves or the Marlins are not beating the Dodgers. I can full-heartedly say that I will be so shocked if either of those teams can win a 7-game series against the Dodgers. It's just not going to happen. I think if the Padres can sneak past the Dodgers, I think they're head and shoulders the favorite in the NLCS. But I don't think that happens either. I think this Dodgers team is just the pressure's off of them because it's just such a weird year where they don't feel the pressure of 1 year of Mookie Betts. They have to capitalize on this year. They know that they're set for the future. They're just, playing confident. They have nothing to lose really. They don't have a small window that's closing on them. So they can just take this year and run with it. This talented ass roster they have. I know the Braves beat the Marlins today, so they should win that series, and the Marlins are kind of playing with a little bit of magic there. But, I mean, if the Marlins play the Dodgers in a 7-game series, what do you really expect? So I think the Dodgers just – no one really has, a solid chance against them.
Well, number one, I think it would be awesome if the Marlins were able to get past the Braves and get past the Dodgers. I just think that would be the most 2020 thing of all time. It's just something nobody ever expects. But Andrew, you are right. If the Dodgers can get past the Padres, and honestly, the Padres are the best team in the National League besides the Dodgers. I think they're better than the Braves. I think they're far superior than the Marlins. The Padres, behind Fernando Tatis, are a very special team. The Dodgers are very good, man. They're super stacked. They have the great 1-2 punch in that rotation. They have a stacked lineup, Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger. I mean, you have young player over here, young player over there. It doesn't matter who you are. If you play for the Dodgers, you're a world-class athlete. Now, I personally think it's going to end up being the Dodgers, and my prediction was the Marlins. Now, I'm going to stick with them because I do think that they do have that magic. And regardless of the fact that they are down 1-0 in the series, that's not going to stop them. I think they're going to get past the Braves. And, whether or not they lose to the Dodgers in the NLCS, hey, they're the last team standing in the NL East, and that is nothing to laugh at.
Miami Marlins are Frank Fleming's least favorite team. I'll tell you that from Twitter. But I really can't believe they're even in this spot. It is just wild to me after selling off their best players for the last 3 years that these guys made it farther than a lot of those great players that they traded away. But like you guys just said, it doesn't look too good for the Marlins right now. The magic runs out eventually. I really can't see them beating the Braves. And like Andrew said, it'd be shocking to see the Braves end up beating the Dodgers if it ever gets to that. Their best shot, of course, everybody, the Marlins and the Braves should be rooting for the Padres tonight and the rest of the series. But like you guys said, the Dodgers are they're Goliath. And we got 3 Davids in the NL. I just don't know if anybody can beat them, but I really do agree that the Padres are the best shot we have of a non-Dodgers World Series team, because after that, it gets tough against the Dodgers. I just can't see it happening. Things would have to get wacky. That Dodgers lineup with Mookie Betts is just it's top shelf.
This Braves versus Marlins matchup might be one of the worst NLDS matchups of all time. This Braves team outside of Max Fried they suck. Honestly, I don't trust them against any team that you take them against any of the teams in the AL, and I don't think they win a series.
And you go around, you can talk to casual MLB fans about who's in the playoffs. I bet you they can probably name one player from every team left aside from the Marlins. I think most people can't even name one person on the Marlins. I can name all the players I hate on the Marlins because they kill the Mets every year. These dummies they pick up out of the minors or off the streets. But most casual fans, the MLB does not really want to see the Marlins go any farther than this.
Well, Steve, one last take on this whole thing. Throughout the playoffs, we have seen this just emergence of young talent from every single team. I mean, you look at the Marlins. They have guys like, who's that pitcher? Why can't I think of him? He was starting today. Sandy Alcantara. This guy looks nasty, bro. This guy, he literally looks like a top of the order ace type pitcher. And guys like Brian Anderson in the middle of that lineup. You have guys like Birdie and Sierra. This is a very talented team. They run. They play defense. They have a potential number one. They have Sixto Sanchez. This is a very exciting team. You look at the Rays. You have a guy like Randy Arozarena. Who is Randy Arozarena? This guy, he was hitting rope after rope after rope against Garrett Cole. The Yankees couldn't get him out. You had Josh Naylor absolutely killing the ball in that series against the Yankees. I just love the young talent that is going throughout Major League Baseball, and I'm excited because you know what? We're only in the division series. We're only barely through 2 games. I think, and number one, it's going to continue tonight because I didn't give you my full prediction. Davy Garcia, he's starting for the New York Yankees today, a rookie starting in Game 2 of the American League Division Series. I think he goes 6 strong. He might give up 2 to 3 runs, but I do think that the Yankee bats are going to back him up, and the Yankees are going to lead the series 2-0.
We'll see if you're Nostradamus or not tomorrow. If you're listening, you'll know if Pablo was completely wrong or right on the money. Usually he's wrong, so we'll see what happens with this. Let's move on to the NFL now. Week 5, we'll give you our picks for every game this week. Detroit, Green Bay, we don't have to pick the Lions this week, thank God. Packers 4-0, they go into the bye week undefeated. Thursday Night Football, the rematch we all expected to see. Nick Foles and the Bears hosting Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Buccaneers 5.5-point favorites. Who you got?
So the Buccaneers are pretty banged up. They're not going to have Godwin. They might not have Mike Evans. Fournette might not play. But, I mean, even without these guys, I mean, with a one-legged Mike Evans last week, Tom Brady threw for 5 touchdown passes. So I think him and Bruce Arians are kind of getting in that groove where that offense is clicking. The Bears, we all kind of called them out for being a fraudulent 3-0 team. So none of us were really expecting too much against them in Indianapolis. I do think Tampa goes into Chicago and wins this game. I think it's going to be a pretty ugly game. I don't think either teams are at full strength right now. Nick Foles just the magic that he had in the past. So I think the Tom Brady is in prime time.
Yeah, guys, my apologies here. I'm just adjusting this here. Yeah, you know what? I have to agree. It doesn't matter. I personally don't think that the Bears have what it takes, whether it's Trubisky, whether it's Nick Foles. This team, they are not better than the Buccaneers. They don't have the type of veteran leadership that the Buccaneers have. So I think that, hey, you know what? Tom Brady, he hasn't looked as superior, as dominant as he did in New England, but it doesn't matter because he's going to get this victory on Thursday.
Pablo, can you tell me how many times Tom Brady has lost to the Chicago Bears?
Yes, I can. 0. He has never lost to the Chicago Bears.
He has never lost to the Chicago Bears, and that will continue. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers get a big win on Thursday Night Football. As we move on to the Sunday slate, for the first time this year, I believe, probably not the first time this year, but first time, the only game this week where the Falcons, the team with 0 wins, are favored, actually. They're favored by 3.5 points at home against the Carolina Panthers, who are on a 2-game win streak. Does Teddy Bridgewater get the win here in Atlanta?
See, after the first 2 weeks of the season, everyone kind of, even before the season, everyone kind of rid off the Panthers as being this pretty pitiful team this year, that they're going to be tanking for a high draft pick. Teddy Bridgewater wasn't really a flashy quarterback, but Matt Rule has a pretty damn good squad he's running there. He's a damn good coach. Joe Brady running that offense looks phenomenal, honestly, for what they're working with. Of course, the Jets, who have no receivers, let Robbie Anderson go, and he's top 10 in receiving yards in the league. He looks phenomenal. Mike Davis fills in for Christian McCaffrey well. This Falcons team, every time I watch them, they just get worse and worse every week. They blow a worse lead after a worse lead. They looked horrible against Green Bay. Matt Ryan kind of looked lost on Monday. Julio Jones is hurt every single game. He can't finish a game. Calvin Ridley didn't even have a catch last week. I'm not seeing with this Falcons team. I had some pretty high hopes for this Falcons team, but man, this Panthers team is blowing away all expectations that they already have. They've probably already had more wins than people thought they were going to have going into the year. So give me Carolina.
Well, I'm actually going to take that take, and I'm going to spin it around. Now, I have been choosing the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Atlanta Falcons are a very talented team, but they are a bit banged up, and they do have a little bit of problems, and they have been kind of given up the games where you do think that they have the games, and they sort of just lose in dramatic fashion. So I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons. They're going to turn it around. They're going to get a win this week. And you know what? Julio Jones, just expect a big run out of this guy within the next few weeks.
Is it time to start asking if the Panthers' offense is better without Christian McCaffrey? Hell no, it's not the time to start asking that. We're not going to start that. That's not the headline we're going to start writing. Panthers have only won 2 of their last 10 divisional games. Falcons, they have been struggling the last couple of years, but guess what? They don't struggle against Carolina. 8-1 in their last 9 games against Carolina. Falcons get the win here. I think we expose the Panthers for being some frauds. They beat the Cardinals, who I said were frauds, and I do think they are frauds still. And the Chargers with a young rookie quarterback, another fraud team. Give me the Falcons. They're not that good anyway, but I think they got to win eventually, and this is the best shot they have for a win. So give me the Falcons this week to win that game. Next game on the schedule, but the Battle of the Unbeatens. This game was little we didn't know if it was going to be played because of COVID and everything, but we have the Bills traveling to Tennessee to face the Titans. Bills favored by 1 point, 2 undefeated teams. Who stays that way?
I'm going to have to go with the Bills Mafia here. I've said it many times in the show that this team, they are the best non-Yankee team in the entire state of New York. They are just a very good team. Bills Mafia, I'm staying with them. They're gonna remain undefeated.
Now, on paper, usually I'd probably pick the Bills in this situation, but again, fuck the Bills. I just don't see the Bills going 5-0. Like, they should win this game, yes. I'm not picking them to go 5-0. I can't do it. Tennessee is fresh. They had that week off from COVID. I know they didn't practice a lot because their facility was closed, but I think they run the ball with Derrick Henry. This Bills defense isn't what it was the last couple of years. So I think Tennessee can run the ball. I think they can kind of control that game, and this is the week the Bills lose.
Over the last 2 years, the Bills have been one of the best road teams in the entire NFL. Titans did not have any practice last week. We don't know how much practice they're going to get this week. And the Bills have arguably looked like the best team, not named the Chiefs, in the entire league. I'm going to ride with the Bills this week. I predicted them to lose last week. I thought some Vegas magic would happen. I'm not making that mistake again. Give me Buffalo. Give me the Bills. Go through a table. The Bills have started out 5-0. Speaking of the Chiefs, they're 12.5-point favorites against that aforementioned Raiders team this week. They travel to Arrowhead to take on Patrick Mahomes. Who do you got this week in this one?
The Chiefs did not look good last week at all against the Patriots. With Patriots with Brian Hoyer, that was a game in the second half, and the Patriots had multiple chances to tie the game or take the lead in the second half. But then again, Brian Hoyer is Brian Hoyer. So I think the Chiefs, they get right. They're probably a little bit pissed how they played last week. Their defense has been phenomenal this year. This defense with this talented Kansas City offense, I think this is a really, really complete Kansas City team. The Raiders, they just have too many flaws. I can't pick them to – they can keep it close. I don't think they can keep up with Patrick Mahomes. I think he kind of has a more get-right game. I think the offense explodes a lot more than it did last week and the Chiefs win.
Now, when you talk about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, you sort of have to think to yourself, who in this league is going to beat this team? Now, I know they're not going to go undefeated, but who is going to come along to actually have the squad to beat this team? And you know what? It's not going to be the Raiders because they're just not up to – they're just not that good. They're not that good. They're not better than the Chiefs. I'm yet to see a team that has any sort of tools. Maybe the Bills. Maybe that would be an excellent matchup. But I don't see any team right now beating the Chiefs.
28-3. No, I am not going back and revisiting the Falcons-Patriots Super Bowl. That is the Chiefs' record against divisional opponents since 2015. 28 wins, 3 losses. These guys are dominant against the AFC West, specifically against the Raiders. They do not lose to these guys, and it's not going to happen this week. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, get right game. They need the offense to start clicking again because it was not a good showing against the Patriots. Raiders come to town, and they get blown out in Kansas City. Andrew, this is a fun game for you. I know you wanted Cliff Kingsbury 2 years ago. Now you get to face him. The 2-2 Cardinals come in to face the 0-4 Jets at MetLife Stadium. You got to start us off here. Do the Jets get on the right side of the win column this week? Now,
looking at going into the season, say probably 2 weeks ago, I was looking at this game, looking at the Jets schedule, saying, wow, the Cardinals, they look really good. They're going to destroy the Jets. The Jets are reeling. They lost to the second worst team in football at the moment when the Broncos, with their third-string quarterback, looked like Peyton Manning in his prime. This Jets team sucks. They continue to suck. But but they're not going 0-16, and they're not going to go 0-5. The Jets are going to win this week. They're having Bell coming back. Denzel Mims should play. Perriman might play. Okay, but also, disclaimer, if Sam Darnold doesn't play this game and Joe Flacco starts, I'm changing my pick to the Cardinals. But as it stands now, I think they get a little bit healthier, and I think they kind of – you saw it last year with the Cowboys game, a shit roster in the Jets, but, I mean, you get someone come back and healthy, and they kind of have a tiny bit of a spark. I think I still want Adam Gase fired. I don't think he should coach this game, but he's going to coach this game. So I don't know if I'm going to watch it if Sam Darnold doesn't play, but if he does, fuck it, they're going to win.
Now, I'll tell you something about the Cardinals. And the Cardinals I'm extremely angry about because they screwed over my parlay. I just expected more out of this team. Now, I'll also tell you one more thing. It's going to be a race to see who can get their first win. Is it going to be the Jets or is it going to be the Giants? Now, both teams are insanely, they're tough to watch right now. And right now, I just don't see, regardless of who's going to be the quarterback, whether it's Joe Flacco or Sam Darnold, I personally think that they just don't have it, and I think it's going to be the Cardinals this week again.
Jets might be starting Joe Flacco. Le'Veon Bell comes back. Frank Gore backing him up. Jamison Crowder in the slot. Alec Ogletree, a middle linebacker. If this team was around in 2014, they would be the number 1 seed in the AFC. But it's 2020. Let's stay in the time machine, though. I want to take you back to 2013. I believe it was 2013. It was a long time ago. The last time the Cardinals played the Jets at MetLife Stadium, when some may know it as the Greg McElroy game. The game the Jets shocked the world. Greg McElroy, Mark Sanchez finally got taken out. Greg McElroy came in. The Jets find some of that McElroy magic. He's a great commentator now. The Jets get the win. Joe Flacco, Sam Darnold. I don't care who it is. They got to win eventually. Give me the Jets in this game.
Rooting for them to win so the Giants have a better draft pick.
I may have ulterior motives. You're right. But I'm still picking the Jets. It's going down in the record. Battle of Battle of Pennsylvania here. The Eagles go to Heinz Field to take on the Steelers. Steelers 7-point favorites. Who you got here?
Well, I personally have the Steelers here. Look, the Eagles, I've been very down on the Eagles. And you know what? The Eagles have when you look at last week, I didn't expect them to pull off a victory there. The Steelers, to me, they're still a very good team, led behind, obviously, one of the greatest quarterbacks of our generation, Ben Roethlisberger. This team is very talented. This team is very ruthless. This team is very aggressive. And this team will continue its winning streak, and they will win this week against the Eagles.
I'm going to use the same kind of logic I use for the Titans, and I don't see it as a downside that they got this week off. I think pretty much coming off a bye week, I think the Steelers, that defense is just way too much for the Eagles to kind of overcome. The Eagles are playing with 3 or 4 backup offensive linemen. They have no receivers. Zach Ertz looks like a shell of himself. Carson Wentz probably played his best game of the season last week, but, I mean, against this Pittsburgh defense, it's not going to happen again. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers win in a blowout.
The NFC North may go 16-0, well, 15-0-1 against NFC East teams this season. That does not change right now. The Steelers are going to win this game, and they'll probably win big. Carson Wentz and the Eagles got lucky against the 49ers because Nick Mullins gift-wrapped them a pick 6. That won't happen with Big Ben this week. Steelers get the win big time. Los Angeles Rams go back to the East Coast again. Back forth, snip, snap, snip, snap. They face the Washington football team this week. They're 9.5-point road favorites this week. Pablo, do the Rams stay hot in Washington?
Yes, the Rams stay hot. Now, look, I have no ill will towards the Washington football team. I just personally can't take them seriously. A team that continues to not have any sort of identity. I think that the Rams are going to win. Now, are they coming off a spectacular game, playing the Giants? Not really. Honestly, I expected them to sort of murder the Giants because the Giants are just so miserable this year. But I still do think that they are the superior team, and I think that they are going to win this week.
Now, I think I'm going to go with a little bit of an upset this week. The Rams, they did not look good against the Giants at all last week. They're going across the country to D.C. They're playing the Washington football team that they're not a good roster. But I mean, Dwayne Haskins, he's due for one of these stupid games where he throws 3 touchdowns. Antonio Gibson is getting better every week. So I think this offense with Terry McLaurin and everything, they can put up points. So I think if they can score enough to keep up with the Rams, that they can squeak out a win.
I actually do think this is going to be a shootout. I think the offenses will look good. I think Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, I hope they have good games because I have them both in fantasy. And I think that the Rams do get this win. Don't be surprised if the Washington football teams cover, but I will give the win to the Rams here. Sean McVay gets the win against his old team. The Cincinnati Bengals travel to face the Baltimore Ravens, the Burrow versus Lamar Jackson. First time we get that game this year. Burrow and the Bengals coming off their first win are 13-point underdogs. Will they pull the upset in Baltimore?
They're 13-point underdogs, but I don't think it's enough. The Bengals, to their credit, have looked really good for a team that had the number 1 pick last year. Joe Burrow has been playing really well, given what little help he has on offense. But the Ravens, after they lost to Kansas City, they kind of beat up on the Washington football team. I think they're going to beat up on another bad team this week. Lamar Jackson kind of looked like the real Lamar Jackson last week, so I think they run crazy. I don't think the Cincinnati Bengals have enough firepower on offense to keep up with them. I don't think their defense is strong enough to slow down that running game, so I think they win by at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and you know what here? When you look at these two teams, I have personally been so down on the Bengals. I'm like, you know what? This is a rookie quarterback. He needs time to sort of, get things together and figure things out in a new league. But he has surprised me. This guy has looked impressive. He is looking to be like the right choice to be that number 1 overall pick. I know it's still very early, but this guy, he's been very good this season. But I am not going to give them the victory. I'm going to give it to a team that I do think is going to make a huge run in the playoffs here. I'm going to give it to Lamar Jackson's Baltimore Ravens. And to me, this is the team to beat. If you're not the Chiefs and if you're not the Ravens, you are in trouble when it comes to playing football game.
The Bengals have lost 15 straight road games. It's time to make it 16. They're not going to win this week. But the last couple Bengal-Ravens games have been all decided by 1 score or less. Give me the Bengals to cover. Give me the Ravens to win. Jaguars 1-3 at the Texans 0-4. Battle of the cellar dwellers in the AFC South. Wow, that was a bad sentence. Texans are favored by 6.5 points. Bill O'Brien's out of there. Who do you got this week?
Now, the Jaguars' first couple of weeks of the season kind of look like what the Panthers are now. Like, wow, this team with absolutely no expectations kind of looks better than what everyone thought they would be. Their offense was clicking. Minshew was playing pretty well. But the Texans, I mean, they're 0-4 for a reason. Bill O'Brien, good riddance. But I think they kind of have that spark with a new head coach. I think they kind of beat up on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Deshaun Watson has his kind of welcome back to reality moment where he kind of goes off and shows us vintage Deshaun Watson.
Well, you know what, Andrew? I agree 100% there. And personally, I got really nothing else to say on this.
Well, you can answer my question, Pablo. How many times has Deshaun Jackson lost to the Jaguars?
Well, if the answer was 0 before, I'm going to say the answer is 0 now.
You're catching on pretty fast. He's never lost to Jacksonville. It's going to stay that way. Texans win. This is their get-right game. Romeo Crennel, welcome back to the NFL head coaching club. Very surprising. Interim head coach. He gets a win in his first game back. The Dolphins travel to face the 49ers. Niners are only 3.5-point favorites. Who would have thought that at the beginning of the year? Who do you have in this game?
Do we know if Jimmy G is coming back this week?
I believe he is on the track to be coming back.
Okay, if Jimmy G comes back, I think he comes back, and the Niners kind of go back to playing like the Niners, and I think they win this game. But I will say that if Nick Mullins plays this game, and he looked atrocious against the Eagles last week. So I think if Nick Mullins plays, I think the Dolphins can play a little bit of spoiler. Fitzpatrick knows that he's barely hanging on to that starting quarterback job, that he might just kind of pull something out on the West Coast to kind of keep his job.
Well, I agree. And you know what? We all know how I feel about Jimmy G here on this podcast. So if he plays, I'm going to go with the 49ers. But if he doesn't play, I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins. This is a team who has really surprised me this season. They have looked sort of good. Without their – obviously they've had flaws. Every team has had flaws. But I think that the Miami Dolphins, they are going to win this week. And like I said, Jimmy G is that X factor. If this guy plays, then they're going to be my team.
Since we've started this podcast, there's no team in the NFL that I have been more wrong about than the Miami Dolphins. When I pick them to win, they lose. When I pick them to lose, they win. Fitzmagic and me have never been on the same side. That's why I got to give him one last shot, in which could be his final game as a Dolphin. Who knows? I don't care. I'm riding with him. The Dolphins get a shocking victory in San Francisco, and their season gets put on the brink because we don't know what's going to happen after that, especially if Jimmy G is playing in that game. 3-1 Colts at the 3-1 Browns. I think this may be the first time in NFL history that these two teams have played and both been 3-1. And it's a pick'em. It's even. It means the NFL believes that – not the NFL. Las Vegas thinks the game is that close. Who do you got in this game, the Colts or the Browns?
Now, the Browns have looked really good, to their credit. They beat up on 2 bad teams, and you could say 3 bad teams if you count the Cowboys. But their offense, if you look at the Browns' offense this year and last year, it's night and day with Kevin Stefanski. The kind of creativity that he brings to the offense, getting Beckham in the game, having Landry throw touchdowns, having Beckham run the ball. I love what he's doing in Cleveland, but, I mean, this Colts team, it's scrappy. I wasn't a fan of Phillip Rivers going to Indianapolis. Their offense hasn't looked great. Jonathan Taylor has not been what all the hype has been about. He has not been great, but they're still 3-1. That defense is probably one of the top 5 defenses in football. They're playing lights out. They're giving up 10, 11 points a game. It doesn't make any sense. This Colts defense is really young, really talented. I think they kind of have that recipe to beat what the Browns have been doing offensively lately. No Nick Chubb for the Browns. I think the Colts win.
Well, last week I went against the Colts, and the Colts, they obviously surprised me. I thought they were going to definitely lose. So I do see the Colts completing and continuing their success. I see the Colts winning. We all know how much I hate the Cleveland Browns, how much I hate Odell, how much I hate their idiot quarterback, how much I just hate that whole organization. But you know what? At the end of the day, Odell Beckham is one of the greatest players in the league. So I can never look past that. But I do still think that the Colts right now, they are an up-and-coming team. The Colts are going to continue their success.
Odell Beckham Jr. finally showed up for the Cleveland Browns. They don't lead him that much this week. I know a lot of people are thinking Nick Chubb was the real catalyst of that offense. Kareem Hunt is better, and I've been saying it for weeks and weeks, and Kareem Hunt is going to show out this week against the Indianapolis Colts. If you got lucky, like I did in a couple of leagues, and drafted Kareem Hunt in fantasy, you never want to wish injury on another player. But, God, this is arguably the best thing that could have happened for Kareem Hunt fantasy owners. This guy will be a top 5 running back in fantasy while Chubb is out. He is that good, and that offensive line has been fantastic. Bill Callahan is making the difference. We wanted the Giants to hire him big time, but they didn't. They got Mark Colombo instead, and look how that turned out. Give me the Browns to win against the Colts because I really don't even I can't trust the pickmaster, Phillip Rivers. Can't do it. Now the game everybody's been waiting for. New York Giants 0-4 at the Dallas Cowboys 1-3. Cowboys 9.5-point favorites. I don't want to start this off. Save me till the end. Somebody else take it.
Now, you look at these are
okay.
Go, Pablo.
All right. Well, I was going to say, you know what? The Cowboys, they have not looked that great this season. Obviously, their only win was coming off sort of a fluke victory, a victory that they shouldn't have even won. But we're not talking about that right now. The Giants, like I said, they're among one of the worst teams I have ever seen. And I haven't even been watching football that long, but this is probably the worst team I have ever seen. They just don't have anything. Whether you look at their quarterback, Daniel Jones, I don't know if Daniel Jones is ready for this. I don't know. And you know what? You could blame a lack of experience from his head coach. You could blame a lack of talent around them. You could blame the fact that his running back isn't going to be there because he's injured. You could blame a lot of things. But you could also blame the fact that this kid, maybe there is a reason why a lot of teams passed up on him. Maybe there is a reason why the Giants took this just random guy. You know, obviously – things happen, and things could always change. But right now, the Giants are just among one of the worst teams in the entire sport. The Cowboys, they're America's team. I know you guys, especially you, Steve, as a Giants fan, you do not want to hear that. But they're just a far superior team, offensively, defensively, head coach-wise, just everything about this team. And they're going to absolutely kill the Giants.
Now, let me just say that Daniel Jones was a top 10 pick, and not that many teams got the chance to pass on him. But besides that, I don't know what the line says for you, Steve, but my phone says Cowboys -9.5. I think that's absurd. I think the Giants will keep it closer than that. But you look at two polar opposite teams. The Giants have been playing surprisingly really well on defense. That was kind of their weakness going into the year. They thought they would be more like the Cowboys and have this high-flying offense and this atrocious defense. But the defense, to their credit, has been playing really well. And you look at the Cowboys, and they have arguably the best offense in the league and the worst defense in the league. So on paper, you would think, okay, this is a Daniel Jones get-right game. Evan Ingram, Golden Tate, Darius Slayton, they're going to get right, and they're going to beat up on this really, really, really bad Cowboys defense. But, I mean, they've played for some decent offenses, the Cowboys. So I think that this Giants offense, I don't see what they're doing on offense. I don't see that working against any defense in the NFL. I don't see them keeping up with Dak Prescott and this 600 yards a game offense. I think the Cowboys, they have to win this game. If they go 1-4 and lose to the winless Giants, then there's going to be riots in Dallas. I think they have to win this game. They always play pretty well against the Giants. I think this will be close, but I don't think the Giants offense can keep up with the Cowboys.
This is a get-right game for one or two units. One of these units is going to get right. It's either going to be the Cowboys defense or the Giants offense. No in between. One of them is going to have a great game, their best of the season. Daniel Jones, look into my eyes, Daniel Jones. I'm talking to you right now. The Giants should be 2-2. If you were a franchise quarterback, you could have risen above. The Giants should have beat the Bears. The Giants should have beat the Rams. The defense played phenomenal in both of those games. The fact that they got those two losses is terrible. Don't even get me started in that 49ers game, that disgusting game. And the Steelers, you played a good first half, but since then you don't even have a touchdown pass, not since that first game of the season. One touchdown pass by Daniel Jones on the entire year. That is disgusting. But there's always a but. There is nobody that knows their former team, no assistant, no other head coach in the entire NFL knows their current former team better than Jason Garrett knows that Dallas Cowboys team. I think the Giants can use that to their advantage. This may be wishing well. I may be better off throwing some pennies into the fountain at J.C. Penney's and wishing for a Giants victory. I'm going to do it. I didn't expect to do it when we started this podcast. Give me the Giants to get their first win of the season against the Cowboys. They have to beat them eventually. They have to. Something has to break. Something has to change. We have the Denver Broncos at the New England Patriots. I hope Cam Newton's back. I hope Drew Lock's back. I hope we get a good game. But the Patriots are 8.5-point favorites. Who you got in this one?
Last week against the Chiefs, the Patriots defense kind of got back into the form of what we expected to see out of them based off last season. I don't care if Jarrett Stidham or Brian Hoyer starts this game. This Broncos team should have beat the Jets by 40 points, and they didn't. The Broncos team with Brett Rippon, I don't see him throwing for 300 yards again. I don't see that offense moving the ball. It's in New England, correct? Yeah, it's in New England. I don't see them going into New England and winning. I don't care if there's fans or not. Patriots are a far superior team outside. Like, even with the quarterback, they're both playing backup, so you can't even count that against either team. I think their rosters outside of the quarterback position, it's heavily favoring the Patriots. I think they win and get back on the right path.
This is funny. I mean, is their quarterback going to be ready for the Patriots for this game?
We hope. I can't.
You really don't know. Well, just the way. Obviously, I understand. I had COVID. Just the way the way he made it seem was like, hey, you know what? I'm coming back from it. I'll be all right. I'm really struggling through this tough time, and you know what? He probably is. But at the same token, his team, I do think that they are going to win. I do think that regardless of the fact that he's there or he's not there, regardless of the fact that Tom Brady isn't there, that team is still pretty good. They still do have that winning culture in New England. So they are going to win.
Cam Newton, Brian Hoyer, Jarrett Stidham, Matt Castle, Ryan Mallett. I don't care who suits up at quarterback for the Patriots. They're going to beat the Broncos. I don't even care if Bill Belichick's out there slinging passes down the field. Give me the Patriots. Give me the Patriots to beat the Broncos in this one. Sunday Night Football, Minnesota Vikings at the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks, 7.5-point home favorites. Who you got in this one?
Am I wrong, or do the Seahawks play the Vikings on Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football every year? Like every single year.
It's always prime time.
In Russell Wilson in prime time. And see, if this was like a 1 o'clock game or a 4 o'clock game, I might pick a sneaky Vikings win here. I think the Seahawks, they did not look good against Miami. But Russell Wilson in prime time, can't catch me betting against them. I think the Seahawks do enough. I do like what the Vikings are doing. They kind of got right and found their formula, riding the back of Dalvin Cook to a win. But I think the Seahawks have to win with Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson, man, you can never bet against his quarterback. He's just amazing. He's been amazing throughout his whole football career. This guy is just a man. He gets it. They're going to continue their success, and they're going to kill the Vikings. Sorry, Dan. Not sorry. Russell Wilson, man, what else can you say about this guy?
For all those games that they've played on prime time, seems like Monday Night Football every year, Mike Zimmer has never even come close to beating Pete Carroll. They've never even covered the spread against the Seahawks. That's why it'll change this week, because that's just the way the NFL goes in 2020. The Vikings, I think that this is a team figuring themselves out as the season goes on. I love the Seahawks this year. I love that offense, but guess what? I don't love that defense at all. I picked against them last week against the Dolphins. Probably regret that one right there. The Minnesota Vikings, they come in, they run the football. Justin Jefferson has a big game. Kyle Rudolph is still there. Irv Smith Jr., Adam Thielen. They pull out the victory in Seattle. Shocking in the Tyreek Hampton Bowl. The Minnesota Vikings and Tyreek are the happy ones. Monday Night Football, the final game of the week. We have the LA Chargers going to New Orleans to face the Saints. Saints are 8-point favorites. Justin Herbert, prime time. Does he get the win?
Pablo.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't get the win. And you know what? Justin Herbert, I'm sorry, Dan. I'm sorry. He's looked absolutely really good. He's looked brilliant, these first few games. But you have to beat the best to be the best. And he clearly he's just not going to beat the Saints. And I just don't see that happening.
Now, the Chargers defense looked pretty brutal against the Bucs last week. I don't know if Michael Thomas is going to play this week with the Saints or not, but I mean, the way the Saints run their offense, they don't really need receivers, if we're being honest. They can just throw it to Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara and run the ball with both of them and still win. This Chargers team, I'm going to stand by. I'm not picking them to win another game the rest of the year. I'm just going to keep picking against them. Justin Herbert, I'm sorry. You're going to go into the Dome and you're going to lose.
I don't know if it's the voodoo in October or something, but listen to this. This is a wild stat. The New Orleans Saints, dating back to 2015, that is 18 straight October games they have covered the spread. October is the Saints' month, apparently. Give me the Saints to make it 19. I think they win. They cover the spread, 19 straight games. That's just a wild stat. Win some money in the Saints in October. I wish I knew that last week. That's all the games for this week, and we move on to our questions. I know we're running low on time a little bit here, so let's get these questions, and then Pablo, you can go watch your Yankees. Our first question of the day comes from Mikey Ferro, and he wants to know who is the most surprising team and the most disappointing team in the NFL through the first 4 weeks. Any takers?
Most disappointing. I know they won last week, but I'm still going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. That division is wide open. They have this golden opportunity to Carson Wentz kind of prove some doubters wrong. he kind of needed this year to kind of reassert himself as one of like the best young quarterbacks in the league, and he just hasn't looked good at all. The Eagles, they had playoff aspirations, and their defense hasn't been great. Their offense has been atrocious to watch. So, I mean, they could prove me wrong this week and win, and kind of my take means nothing. But I think the most impressive team so far, it's tough. I feel like a lot of the good teams we kind of expected to be good. I'll roll with give me the Indianapolis Colts. I kind of sung their praise. I picked them to beat the Browns. I didn't think this Colts team was that good. I didn't like the signing of Phillip Rivers. I didn't like the kind of potential they had in offense. But this defense has been playing out of their mind. They're 3-1. If my prediction is right, they're going to be 4-1, and I would not have guessed that at the beginning of the year.
Well, to me, the most disappointing team, and you know what? I'm going to stay in the same division as the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. This team is way too talented, to be at their, to be where they're at right now in the standings. And even the fact that, Steve, a guy like you, understand you are a Giants fan, there's absolutely no way that this should even be a question that whether or not they're able to beat the Giants or not. They're just far superior. They should be the top team in that entire division. So, to me, they are extremely disappointing. A team that is sort of surprising to me is the Bills. Now, look, I thought the Bills were going to be a very good team. I didn't think they were going to be undefeated. I didn't think they were going to continue to be undefeated when they do win this week. To me, that team is just very surprising.
Most surprising team to me is a team that I really expected to take 2 steps back this year. I thought their games last year were kind of a fluke, and their playoff performance kind of put the nail in the coffin for me with them is the Green Bay Packers. That team looks phenomenal. I thought Aaron Rodgers would come out and kind of be lackadaisical after the pick of Jordan Love. This guy looks better than did ever in his career. Green Bay Packers, that's my most surprising team. I didn't expect them to be this good. And my most disappointing team is a team that I thought could really be a surprise playoff team. That's the Atlanta Falcons. These guys blew 2 horrible losses, and they just have looked flat yesterday, looked flat the first game of the year against the Seahawks. It's just not going to happen this year for them. I think the Matt Ryan era might be coming to an end pretty fast. Next question here comes from Mikey Perino, and he wants to know let's let Pablo answer this one. His thoughts on Devi Garcia getting the start over Masahiro Tanaka.
Well, thank you, Mikey. That's a very interesting question. Now, look, originally I was very, very nervous about this, but after winning game 1, it sort of does change things a little. Now, let's say the Yankees lost in game 1. Now, you're putting a lot of pressure on the rookie to sort of pitch very well and to sort of pitch well enough to keep you guys in the game for the team to score, and so you can even out the series 1-1. So I think that this is a very good move for the New York Yankees. It's sort of gonna show the kid that you have confidence in him, that you do believe he could be a very good pitcher in this organization for years to come. Now, I don't think he's going to be a number 1 or 2 or even 3. I think this guy, he's going to be a back end of the rotation guy in his career. So I do like that. And you know what? Look, let's say you win, let's say you lose. I am very confident in Masahiro Tanaka taking the ball in game 3. This is a guy, like I said, his postseason pedigree is through the roof. This guy is the guy that you do want to have the ball in the big game spots.
Next question comes from David Dazik. Thank you, Dave. How you doing out in Nashville, Michigan, wherever you are right now? He wants to know our AL and NL MVP picks. Andrew, start us off with this one.
Now the AL, I think, is the biggest race. I want to pick. So 2 of the candidates are Jose Abreu and Tim Anderson, and they're both on the same team. I think Jose Abreu, what he's done, he's always been this consistent hitter, but this kind of year he took it to a whole nother level. If I'm sorry if I'm mistaken, but I think he led the AL in RBIs. He had a phenomenal year for the White Sox. He kind of powered that one of the best lineups in baseball. So I think his stats just prove, regardless of what position he plays, that he was the best hitter in the AL this year. So I think Jose Abreu wins it in the AL. And I think the NL, I think Freddie Freeman runs away with it. The man's been on fire. You can't get this guy out with runners in scoring position. He just killed every team he played. He was an RBI machine. I think Freddie Freeman has always been a star. I think this year he kind of ascended to like a superstar, this MVP caliber player.
I mean, I can't even disagree there. Jose Abreu, I mean, yeah, this guy has been absolutely phenomenal. His lineup was amazing. I thought they were going to, take a bigger step in the postseason. But this is a guy who every single year he continues to perform and perform and perform. He is a RBI machine. This guy's an RBI machine, and he has been like that ever since he got brought over from Cuba. And in the National League, it's got to be Freddie Freeman. Now, I originally thought it was going to be Fernando Tatis, but, this guy, he sort of fell off for a few weeks. Now, in a shortened season, that's going to cost you. Freddie Freeman, he's had the high batting average. He's been very consistent, and you're even seeing it right now. This guy is among one of the top hitters in the entire sport.
Freddie Freeman's batting average isn't even comparable to Fernando Tatis's batting average, and the rest of their stats are. I think that really sets it apart for Freddie Freeman and Tatis, and how great of a story it would have been for Tatis to win the MVP. Freddie Freeman, the guy, Mr. Consistency, that guy's finally going to get his first MVP. And in the AL, I'll go a little different from the Jose Abreu pick. I think this was a weird season. I think we could get a weird MVP. Yankees just knocked him out. I think Shane Bieber could be a little of a underdog type pick there. I think he had such a great season, really did stuff that no other pitcher did in a long time. Winning the Triple Crown for pitchers, that doesn't happen too often. I think Shane Bieber could be kind of a surprise pick if they go a different route other than Jose Abreu. Maybe they split the vote between Anderson and Abreu. That could be detrimental to both their cases. Next question comes from PK Patel, and he wants to know, a little basketball question here. In the words of Jimmy Butler, is LeBron in trouble?
I don't think so. I think they were never going to sweep the Heat. So I think the Miami Heat, they don't have enough firepower to keep up with LeBron James and Anthony Davis in a 7-game series. I think they'll keep it tight. I'm glad this isn't a wash of a series. I'm glad that they're keeping it close and kind of spicing it up a little bit. But I think the Lakers are just a little bit too much to handle.
Now, LeBron James, he's clearly the man. This guy is the man. And, I picked them to win in 5 games. So you know what? That last loss, it was scheduled. I knew it was going to happen. And you know what, Steve? I know that you did pick the Miami Heat. And I know you think that they are going to win. They're not. They're simply not. They're not a better team than the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James, to me, I'm sick and tired of this guy. I want this guy out of the spotlight. When you look at what he did the other day, just walking off the court when his team was losing real bad, that's somebody I have zero respect for. But I do still think that while this guy is in the sport, while this guy is on a good team like he is, while this guy is in a big market in LA like he is, he's going to continue to perform. And you know what? This is not going to be the last time we see him in the finals.
Let me tell you something. Jimmy Butler is built different. He's doing the damn thing. They are in trouble. You're damn right they're in trouble. The Lakers, they didn't know what hit them yesterday. Jimmy Butler took Jay Crowder and My Chemical Romance. That was a great tweet I saw on Twitter. Tyler Harrow, Duncan Robinson, it looks like Sheen from Jimmy Neutron, and freaking Myers Leonard. This may be LeBron Cleveland first go-around-esque in terms of help in the finals. Jimmy Butler put the team on his back, and now his reinforcements are coming back. LA Lakers, you're in trouble. That's official. Bobby Krepik with our next question. 2 left. He wants to know, if the Lakers win, like I did not predict them to, who will get the MVP, Anthony Davis or LeBron James?
I think it's still going to be decided. I don't think you can kind of pick one right now. I think it can go either way. I do think it'll end up being LeBron. I think he'll have the numbers. Like, I think the numbers will be there, and I think he'll mean more to the team, and he'll get the voters kind of the respect that he's earned. So unless Anthony Davis balls out and completely outperforms him for the next few games, I don't see how it's not LeBron.
I'm gonna spin this around. I think that LeBron, he needs Anthony Davis if he's gonna. He can't do it all by himself. This team has a lot of talent, but Anthony Davis, he's gonna show you why he's the man. He's gonna show you why he always needed somebody as a comp to go along with this sort of talent. Anthony Davis, he's the guy. And throughout the whole postseason, he's looked dominant. He's looked like hungry. He's looked like he finally wants to win his first NBA championship.
If LeBron is their best player the next couple of games and Anthony Davis isn't that great, I don't know if the Lakers win the rest of the games this series. If Anthony Davis is fantastic, if he's great, if he's amazing, and LeBron James is just average, the Lakers win the next 3 games easy. Next 2 games easy. Anthony Davis, the Lakers win the finals, will be the MVP because that's just the matchup we have. The Heat don't have that great of a backcourt and a front court, and I think that he'll really shine. I know he had a bad game in Game 3, but the Heat need Bam Adebayo to really lock down Anthony Davis, and if he can really show out, Anthony Davis is going to win MVP if the Lakers win. And our final question, NBA Finals related, kinda, is it's from Jake Mason, and he wants to know if the finals would be different if Zonak suited up for the Heat.
Well, we should have just ended on the last question. But Zonak, you know what? We love him. We miss our producer. We should be back in the studio very shortly. Honestly, no, I can't even make a joke. I can't even make a joke about this. There's nothing that Zonak could do. There's nothing he could do with his shorts that he wears all the time yearly. His flip flops, just the flip flops alone. He wouldn't be able to he wouldn't be able to walk around on the court. You know, he doesn't fit. So no. There's nothing Zonak can.
Let me just say something. I give the man a lot of shit, but I've seen this man play basketball. I've never seen a big man shoot like he does. You know, he has the size to kind of post up in the paint. He has the size to compete at that level. He has the shot. You can't hack him because he's a good free throw shooter. He has beautiful form. I think he's kind of the spark that the Heat would need to come back in this series. So honestly, I think the Heat win in 4 if Zonak plays for them.
Now, once upon a time, I thought, hey, you know, maybe I can make the NBA one day. Then I looked up Isaiah Thomas, and Isaiah Thomas is 6 foot, and everybody calls him a midget, and I'm 6 foot. So, you know, it's kind of a reality check when you realize you're the same height as Isaiah Thomas. And you look at Zonak, and yeah, he's the big man on the court when we play. This guy is shorter than Steph Curry. I don't think Zonak can move or shoot like Steph Curry. So, yes, it would be different, but a bad different for the Miami Heat if Zonak was on the court.
Too much Cluck Hugh for the out of you know, moving around and for him to be guarding LeBron or
He might not be able to play more than like 12 minutes. He might have to either go to the bathroom or throw up.
Yeah, his Operation Code Brown might show up, but that's about the only differences I would see if Zonak was playing. I don't think it'd be a good thing for the Heat fans. But we'll end it on that. That's all we got for episode 36 of the Before the Score podcast. At Before the Score on Instagram, Twitter. Look out for Pablo's Yankees rant coming this week. That's all we got for episode 36. Thanks for joining us.